Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Titans Season 3, and this is going to be my review for Episode 10, the fourth last episode for the season, otherwise entitled Troubled Water. But of course, spoiler, if you've not watched the episode, go away if you haven't, then come back later on when you have watched it. But of course, if you have watched it, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below your general thoughts and opinions on this episode. What you love, what you hate, what was your overall thoughts on the episode? Let me know down there, and including any theories and predictions going forward. Always curious to read them. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you enjoyed the episode, why not drop a like on the video to show all that? So quickly, sorry for no review last week for episode 9, which was entitled Souls, I think it was. Just some technical troubles. Power was out. It was just impossible to do it on that day. And to be honest, I didn't love last week's episode, so that's why I didn't try again the next day to do it. If I liked the episode, or, liked the episode pretty much basically, I would have gone out of my way to do it the next day or whenever it might be when I was able to do it, but I wasn't overly motivated to do so. Just didn't love last week's episode. But in regards to last week's episode, we had Tim Drake, Donna Troy, and Hank Hall. Wasn't expecting him to return, but we had Hank Hall along with those other two in the underworld, pretty much a mission to get back to life. Now, Hank gets somewhat of a happy ending with Don, the original Dove, which was cool to see at the end. We have Raven training on Themyscira, sort of working towards getting Donna back to life, and we actually finished the episode with Donna being resurrected, and also Tim coming to in the hospital. But Bruce Wayne throughout the episode, at the beginning of the episode, I think it was, writes up his final will. And then we see we see him try to kill himself later in the episode, but he's actually saved by the newly revived Donna, and that's pretty much where we leave off. But in regards to this episode, we had a break last week. Like, really, that was like the follow-up from Tim Drake getting shot pretty much. So this episode really felt like, it was a solid episode, but it really felt like, okay, we're setting up for the final 3 episodes. This definitely felt like a setup episode. Like, I felt like episode 8 was going to be the setup episode, but it actually had its own thing going on. And so did this episode, but it just felt like they were going, okay, here's this, we're setting up this character to do something. We're setting up this, we're setting up this, we're setting up this. It felt like a really big setup episode, which you usually get around. Usually it's an episode 10 or an episode 11 of a 13 episode season, so I'm not overly surprised we got this type of episode, but it was still an enjoyable episode to watch at the same time. But yeah, let's talk about it in more depth, if you want to call it. So we do pick up, not straight after the events of the years, but it's like I think 7 or 8 hours after the events of episode 8, right at the end when like the water's contaminated. And I'd slightly forgotten about what was going on, but of course it's just following Scarecrow successfully being able to manipulate the Titans to do his deed and contaminate the water supply of Gotham City. Of course, this does cause quite the panic within the Gotham City Police Department, and crime is just happening at a rapid rate. Like, even for Gotham City, like, you think, oh, okay, crime's going up, and then you think, oh, it's surprising in Gotham City standards. So that's how you know it's bad. Now, there are not too many options as to what to do early on with this situation outside of the basic option of just, draining the contaminated water supply and pretty much locking people out of it for, I think it's almost a week it would take, like 5 days roughly, I think that was. So that's not likely to happen. It's pretty like locking people out of a water supply for a day would be big. But almost a week, that's pretty crazy. However, the government is coming to help, but it's just to lock the city up and not let anyone out or in. So even if you were, somewhat crazy enough to say, hey, how about a trip to Gotham now? They wouldn't even let you do that. So that's amazing news for the people that are not affected by the contamination within Gotham City. They got to deal with the crazy people. Now, Scarecrow plays a bit of a big brain play. I would say it's a big brain play, and uses footage sort of spliced up and the events that took place at the end of episode 8 with Starfire, blowing up the water pump factory thing to pin the contamination on the Titans, and Nightwing literally has like a crosshair put over his head while also putting Red Hood on a pedestal as the new, I think they use the word savior, it was like the new hero or savior of Gotham City, which of course makes things quite a bit difficult for not only Dick but also just the Titans as a whole. But the hope is still there to try and tap into the uncontaminated and potentially gain some fans in this tough situation. Now, one thing that's just sort of like laid in here, and that's it, is when we have Gar going through some notebooks of Bruce Wayne within the Batcave, and he learns of the Lazarus pit. Now, there's no real focus again on this in the episode, but there's still a good amount of episodes left in this season to come back to all that. There's 3 episodes left, so maybe next episode or episode 12, or maybe even the finale for this season, they come back to that, or someone else comes across that notebook. Obviously, at the end of at the end of this episode, which we'll get to, someone else is in Wayne Manor, and I'm sure they might visit the Batcave, so they might find that notebook because it's just literally sitting right out in the open, and it has a big Wayne emblem on it, or Wayne crest on it. So I think if I was walking through that and that was just sitting there in the middle, it might draw my attention. So maybe that's why they did that in this episode. Now, of course, last episode, Donna Troy is resurrected or comes back to life, and she arrives on the outskirts of Gotham. However, she is intercepted or interpeded or just comes across Lydia. I think her name's Lydia from Themyscira, who needs to put Donna through some, I don't know, trials is maybe the best word, before she is ready to go ahead with anything else due to her rebirth from the underworld. Though this isn't really focused too much on the specifics of having to pass something after coming back to life. It's not like they have a checklist. Okay, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's more just concern by Lydia about like the losses she's had with her own daughter. And also Donna did die, now it's back to life and doesn't want to lose her again. So it's more concern than anything else. And speaking of concern, we do have Jason in some doubt over what's going on with Gotham at the moment, but Scarecrow is able to push him into like the right mentality, I guess, is like for the plan at the very least, but mentality is probably the best word to use, even though it's not the right mentality to have in general, but at least for that plan it is. And despite that conversation with Molly where she has that concern, where you think she's actually getting through to him, and almost seems like Jason's considering not going through with what is planned with all this Red Hood stuff, he does move ahead and sides with the Red Hood side of himself and just does what he does, which definitely causes a bit of an issue for the Titans. And that's when we have Titans going in to GCPD just for show, like a bit of a, just a, hey, we're doing this, to make it look like they're handing themselves in. However, we see that Red Hood has paid off one of the higher officials in the GCPD, which turns around that plan with one of the cops actually shooting Blackfyre and causing a Titans versus cops sort of fight, in which I thought they were actually going to be taken down for a second. I thought, oh, okay, the Titans are actually going to get beat here because it looked like they didn't want to hurt them, but at the same time, they just went, oh, screw this, let's just deal with this and then go and get away. So, Titans versus cops. But if the cops had beat the Titans, it definitely would have undermined their abilities, even if the Titans were holding back a bit. So thankfully that didn't happen, but Barbara is actually forced to shoot the high official that took the payment in order to save Dick. However, which didn't even cross my mind when she did it, this actually results in the arrest of Barbara. So let's see where that happens. Well, what happens with this going forward, but that happens towards the end of the episode, so not much else focused on that. But yeah, Barbara has been arrested, had her Miranda rights read to her, so I guess it was worth it. She saved Dick, so I think she was somewhat happy with that decision, or at least can live with that decision. But speaking of decisions, I love these segues. Starfire takes Blackfyre into a nearby church in order to heal her, but in the process, Blackfyre grabs Starfire and absorbs not just some of her powers, but apparently all of them. And though it is made out to be like an accident by Blackfyre, it definitely felt intentional, especially when it's followed with like a judging session of Starfire by Blackfyre, where she like looks down on Starfire's choices, in this case continuing to help the Titans, not siding with her blood and various things like that. I've been saying pretty much since they got Blackfyre out of that government thing and she was constantly hanging around the Titans, it's like, when are they going to move into this thing? Because I thought Blackfyre was meant to be, if not the villain for the season, like a main villain, and she's just been like an ally for the team. So we've got 3 episodes left. This episode did a lot setting up things for the final 3 episodes. And now we have Blackfyre, might I say, with powers. So I'm assuming stuff goes off the rails. And she says she's got things to do, and we don't see where she goes after that. So I'm going to assume next week in episode 11, it goes off the rails and Blackfyre, not Starfire, Blackfyre shows her true intentions, or, what she can do. So let's see if she moves down that villainous path. But yeah, chaos is just continuing throughout Gotham City. There's just no proper law or order. There's just anarchy throughout it. But in some luck, Donna is able to, move on, and she's able to come and arrive in Gotham City to help. But also Raven arrives when, because Gar had been shot and I think tranquilized and stuff. So he's like sort of recovering by himself in a secluded area, and Raven shows up. So we'll see what happens there. We don't really get anything more than that after that. However, the Titans have to be on the defense rather than the offense at the moment and just stay out of sight. And it was pretty surprising just to see, I know, you wouldn't go off and do what Superboy is telling you to do. He's still a very amateur or rookie superhero and hero within this group and just this world. So you're going to listen to Dick, but Dick just he has to lay low. And it's really, they can't really touch Gotham at the moment because of what's going on. So though it seems like I don't want to say wimpy move, it's a very reserved mood because they have to play on the defense at the moment because they are under attack. And if they go out there, they'll probably be taken down fairly quickly. Like, let's be completely honest. But to finish off the episode, we do have Scarecrow and Red Hood at Wayne Manor, with Scarecrow just knowing how to send Jason deeper into his new persona, tapping into his feelings for Bruce, and we see what Jason does with that portrait, or the family portrait of the Waynes. But this is what I was saying before when we had Gar with that notebook with the Lazarus pit and all these different things, and just sitting right in the middle of the Batcave. Now we have Scarecrow and Red Hood in Wayne Manor. Scarecrow even changes it up to Crane Manor, not Wayne Manor, Crane Manor. And I'm assuming that they're going to head down to the Batcave. I'm assuming we're going to see them head down to the Batcave, where I'm sure whether it's Jason or Scarecrow will see that book and potentially any other toys and gizmos down there. So I don't know what's going to happen next episode or in the episodes to come following what just happened at the end of this episode. But I think some secrets from Batman's past and various things like that might come out, and Scarecrow might be getting a bit of an advantage. But overall, as I said at the beginning, this episode was a really big setup episode for the next 3 episodes to come to finish off this season. Though it was still fun to watch. Like, I don't think you'd watch it on its own. It's not like a solo episode you would watch, but it was definitely a good episode in regards to, or a solid episode in regards to its place within the season and setting stuff up. But yeah, it didn't have any mind-blowing moments, if I'm being completely honest, but it was still a good episode to watch. But of course, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in these final 3 episodes, because I'd assume stuff's going to go crazy. I'd have to assume so. And I think this is probably going to be the biggest finish that a season of Titans has ever had, which isn't saying much, but at the same time, it still gets me somewhat excited. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode. Did you love it? Did you have issues with it? What were your favorite moments? Any thoughts, predictions, theories, anything like that going forward, let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.